Hi, I'm Jess.
Hi, I'm Kristen.
And this is Rediscover, a conversation where we travel through everything that makes up the essence of who we are and how to live authentically and imaginatively.
Here, we invite you to join us as we explore and discuss a little bit of, well, everything.
From Disney to cultivating your most authentic life to deepening your relationships and talking about the real stuff.
We hope you'll find this a space that speaks to you, encourages you, and brings a little bit of magic into your day.
Hi there, I'm Jess.
Hi everyone, I'm Kristen.
And welcome back to this week's episode of Rediscover.
On today's episode, we really wanted to talk about what it's like living in Orlando. A lot of people talk about what it's like to, quote, live in the middle of the magic, and speak a lot to what it's like to be able to visit the local theme parks whenever they want to, which is wonderful, but we really wanted to take a dive into all of the amazing things that you can do in and around Orlando that don't require going to the theme parks.
And just giving you a little bit more insight on this area surrounding a very popular vacation destination.
Basically, we broke down our favorite things to do in and around Orlando into a few different categories, and we wanted to start with a few of our favorite towns within the confines of Greater Orlando.
The first one we'll dive into was pretty close to where both of us lived at the time. It's called Winter Garden. There's a lot of towns with winter in the name, so this one is Winter Garden.
Winter Garden is very close to the Disney parks. It's probably about a 20 to 25 minute drive from Disney property, depending where on property you are. There is a lot of shopping to be found there if you are in town and you need to go to Target or Best Buy or anywhere like that. There is a place called Winter Garden Village.
And it's not totally in a tourist district, so it's a lot of local people, and it's kind of your one-stop shop for everything.
Yeah, it's a lot of more well-known stores and restaurants, a lot of chain restaurants, but it's definitely compact. It's all in one kind of area, one sort of very large plaza. And if you go a little further into the town of Winter Garden, there's a historic district of Winter Garden, and that is called Plant Street. There's a cute gazebo in the middle of the street. Sometimes bands will play there. There's, a lot of people on their bikes or taking a walk. And there are a lot of great local places, more like small businesses and family-owned places to check out that we really love. And on Saturdays, they have a farmer's market there, which is always lots of fun. There's a bike trail around that area that's really fun.
It's called the West Orange Bike Trail, and it takes you on a really beautiful path that doesn't even look like Orlando at all. Like, you completely forget that it's such a vacation destination. It feels like your hometown, honestly.
Yeah, I think that'll be a common thread with a lot of these is it's hard to remember when you're in these areas and these places that you are just a short drive away from Walt Disney World or Universal. On Plant Street, there are a lot of great local restaurants that we love.
That's my favorite part of this area. Definitely number one favorite is Plant Street Market. So that's kind of like a co-op. There's tons of different stations. They have a mac and cheese station. They have a pizza station. They have acai bowls. They have really delicious popsicles. The Crooked Can Brewery is connected right to Plant Street Market. So when you head all the way over to the left, it's right there. And it's just a really great spot. And I didn't find it until a few years ago, and I went there so many times. Like, it's definitely a highlight of the Winter Garden area.
Yeah, it's just a fun place to go on like a Friday night. It's really close by, and you often end up running into people you know. It's basically a place where you could cultivate an entire meal just visiting the different stations, almost like one of the Epcot festivals. There are also some standalone restaurants on Plant Street and in the downtown Winter Garden area that we really love too.
The Whole Enchilada is a really delicious Mexican restaurant, and the highlight there is their rooftop area is absolutely gorgeous, and at night they have lights up there, and just there's a whole area to kind of sit, and it's definitely a vibe. Also, the Thai Blossom Cafe is great for Thai food. I really love Thai food, so that was a great find.
My favorite place to go on Plant Street is Oxum Coffee. A lot of locals will probably have heard of this before. The pastor of my church in Orlando, which we'll talk about later, actually founded Oxum with his wife as a nonprofit. Renaud and his wife Brooke spent a lot of time in Ethiopia and other parts of Africa. Renaud actually grew up in South Africa, and they have adopted several children from Africa as well. So they really felt kind of called to create a sense of community and a space where people could relax and work on creative projects and things while still giving back to the community and the larger world. It's ethically sourced and locally roasted and handcrafted, and it's delicious. It's honestly so good. The drinks are so good if you want more of a crafted coffee beverage, but their drip coffee is delicious as well. They also have food options. So I would often go there and do homework, or I would often go there to meet with friends just to have a chat, or just to spend a quiet afternoon reading. It's really a beautiful, calming atmosphere, and I just believe so wholeheartedly in their mission. They work with different charities all the time, often multiple at once. Some notables that I'm really passionate about are Love Made Visible and Love 146, which works with women and children who have been victims of human trafficking. So that's really incredible. And that's kind of one of those things where in a city that is so driven by tourism, you kind of do start to think about like where you're putting your dollar, where you're giving your money to. And that's an incredible way to give back to your community while still enjoying your favorite cup of coffee, which is something a lot of us, myself included, kind of do every day.
One last highlight for us is Jeff's Bagel Run. You may have heard of it. It's an online bagel shop run by Jeff and his wife Danielle. They moved to Winter Garden back in 2016, and they were having trouble finding a good bagel. They decided that they were going to take that issue into their own hands and create delicious New York style bagels that are available in the Orlando area. The unique thing about Jeff's Bagel Run is you do need to order at a specific time on their website. So they have bagels available every Sunday at 7 p.m. as of now. This has changed since I've started getting bagels from them. So just definitely keep an eye out on their website. You have to be on the website right on time, refreshing your page and trying to score some bagels, but they are delicious. We're from New York and can vouch for these bagels. So Jeff's Bagel Run. And if you live in Winter Garden or Windermere, they deliver. Otherwise, you can come pick them up from them.
Now we're going to move to another town that starts with winter, but it's not Winter Garden. And this is in North Orlando. So it's just north of downtown Orlando, north of the theme parks. It is called Winter Park.
Both of our favorite place in Winter Park is the Briar Patch for brunch. Yes. They have one of the best brunch menus I think I've ever seen. I could try endless things on their menu. It's so good.
And the atmosphere is really bright and welcoming. It's just a really great brunch spot. The entire vibe of Winter Park carries from the restaurants into kind of the retail offerings. If you've ever heard of the company Rifle Paper Company, they have a location out in Winter Park, which you don't often see an entire storefront dedicated to rifle paper. You often see them in Anthropologie, but never as like its own entity. So that's kind of fun for those of you who, like us, love to journal and organize things in an aesthetically pleasing way. If you like stationery and really cute cards to send to your loved ones, that's a great place to find them.
Another really great shop is The Heavy, which is a plant flower shop for those of you who have your plant babies at home. This is definitely a really great place to go to get a new addition to the family. They also serve coffee in there, so it's just kind of a whole experience. You could kind of go there to just wander around and make a little afternoon out of it.
Speaking of wandering around, much like the Plant Street Market in Winter Garden, Winter Park has its own version called the East End Market, and very similar indoor setup where you can find local artisans and very niche kind of craft grilled cheese stations and artisanal bread, and the ever famous and increasingly so Gideon's Bakehouse is located in the East End Market. They are about to open a location at Disney Springs. If you've never experienced a Gideon's cookie, I hope that if you don't venture to Winter Park, you'll get to have one at Disney Springs, because not only are they the size of your head, they are huge. They are so fantastic, and they do a lot of interesting flavors surrounding, events and things that are going on in the world or holidays. They'll do like fun Halloween flavors, and just really, it's like they're dreaming as children and creating these flavors. It's awesome.
They're dense but delectable, and they're very photogenic. They are so good. Even just the classic chocolate chip cookie is on a next level. These cookies are insane.
Some other notable restaurants and local places to try in Winter Park are the Glass Knife, which is a patisserie, really intricate, beautiful desserts, cakes, and they even do simpler things like donuts too, but they do them in such an elevated way that it's like the place where, oh, this is too pretty to eat happens, but you can't help but eat it because it also tastes just as good as it looks. But again, very photogenic.
Another really great place, throwing it back to the East End Market, is Porch Therapy, which has really delicious brunch and gorgeous plants in there, a beautiful setup. Winter Park is just, I really think Winter Park is the aesthetic place in Orlando.
Yeah, it's beautiful. If you're feeling a little heavy after all of that dining, you can take a bar class at Bar Method Winter Park, which I have been to and thoroughly enjoyed. It's a bar studio, and I know every city has one, but there's just kind of something warm and welcoming about this one that I've always enjoyed.
So Winter Park is close to downtown Orlando. Harry P. Lou Gardens are a beautiful garden to walk through. They have gorgeous grounds and flowers in bloom in certain seasons, and when I went there last time, there was a proposal in the gardens. It's very picturesque, gorgeous if you want to take some photos or if you just want to kind of be outside.
For those of you who have been to downtown Orlando, you've probably seen Lake Eola, which is a huge, beautiful lake right in the center of the city. It has a gorgeous park that you can walk around. There are actually little swan boats you can take out on the lake. There's an amphitheater down there that I've never seen an event at, but I know they do occasionally have them. Although most events are held at the Amway Center, which is kind of the larger concert venue in Orlando, where the Orlando Magic plays, where the Jonas Brothers Happiness Begins tour happened, all that good stuff. There are some smaller venues nearby, like the Beecham is a great, more like hipster retro concert venue.
I saw Allie and AJ there in 2019.
Very fun. I saw a coin there in, 2018, I think. Another fun part of Lake Eola is the farmers market they have there on Sundays. And that one's like the big downtown farmers market. Definitely lots of vendors, lots of artisans, lots of fun things to eat, and lots of dogs, which we love to see. Another fun entertainment option in downtown Orlando is the Sax Comedy Club. So you often think of concert venues and places to hear live music, but a comedy club kind of almost feels like a thing of the past, but it's so much fun.
Also, in the spirit of performance, there's the Dr. Phillips Center, which is the main theater. So that's where we'll get the traveling Broadway shows. On top of just regular performances that come through. One time I went and they played La La Land on screen, but then they had the orchestra play the music. So
I love that.
Yeah,
idea.
so they do that. I've seen them do that for, I think, Nightmare Before Christmas was another one.
That's
or
so fun.
Yeah, so they'll take the movies and then possibly Harry Potter or Star Wars or something like that.
I've seen the Harry Potter ones around here.
Yeah.
That's like better than going to the movies.
Oh, for sure. So yeah, Dr. Phillips Center is just such a blessing to have in Orlando. I love it. I'm so happy we had it.
The main theater is the Walt Disney Theater.
Yeah, that's
which
the
is
best
so
part.
Sweet.
Yes. Two of my favorite restaurants in the downtown Orlando area, Tin and Taco. Fantastic tacos. My favorite kind was called the Chick Magnet, a chicken taco.
That's so cute.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. And then another favorite is Market on South, which is a vegan restaurant, and it has phenomenal food.
Even if you're not vegan.
I think vegan food is highly underrated from people who don't consider themselves vegan, you know?
Yeah, I think it's nice to go to a restaurant that has a vegan menu if, you don't necessarily want to cook that way or eat that way all the time, it's still like fun to try. And if you have vegan friends, that's a good way to be accommodating to them.
Absolutely.
So the last mention we wanted to make for downtown Orlando was we have the Orlando Magic basketball team, and we have the Orlando City Soccer Club. So it's kind of cool not having grown up somewhere that had kind of like a prominent soccer league. I've been to a couple Orlando City games. They are so much fun. You definitely get a more international crowd, which is really fun because at football games, I didn't realize till I went to an Orlando City game. I mean, it's an American sport, but it's a largely American audience. So at this one, there's just people from all over there in different languages, and it just felt like so international and cool. I had a great time.
Yeah, and especially because a lot of people are traveling internationally or they're living and working at the theme parks and they are from international countries.
Yeah, and because Orlando has such a large Argentinian and Brazilian presence, those are two countries that love soccer. So it was great to see the excitement.
Tons to do in downtown Orlando. And again, it is just a really excellent city, and it's so clean, it's so vibrant, feels very modern. It's an excellent downtown area, I have to say. Our next town is Celebration, Florida. So a lot of you guys may have heard about Celebration.
I think it was like kind of designed to be the realization of that living and working city that Walt had sort of dreamed of Epcot being.
Yes, but Celebration is no longer owned by the company. It is just a normal town. However, it still has that really picturesque and charming feel. So I would say Celebration would be my go-to location for all things holiday. They have a really great pumpkin patch in the fall. In the winter, they have a bunch of Christmas celebrations. So in the town center, they have people-generated flurries for us. And if you drive over to Jeter Drive, there is a neighborhood that is all decked out for the holidays. And people go all out over there, and they will deck out their houses in Christmas lights, but also a lot of them are Disney fans. So they will have projections of Disney-themed things and play different music. Like sometimes they would play World of Color music or Fantasmic music, and it's just really beautiful. It's nice to get into the Christmas spirit, even though you're in such a warm climate.
There are lots of fun places to eat or grab a bite in Celebration as well. They actually have their own tea room, which is when you first kind of drive into Celebration right across from all the Disney corporate office buildings. And then once you get into downtown Celebration, there are some really fun places as well. There's a New York style pizza joint called Upper Crust that, once again, as New Yorkers, we can verify is pretty authentic. Another fun place is Wonderland Cookie Dough, which is themed very much like Alice in Wonderland. It's very fairy tale storybook-esque, and they have rotating seasonal flavors and some staples as well, your classics, chocolate chip, M&M, things like that, snickerdoodle,
Sugar cookie.
You can just go get a cup of cookie dough or a cone of it, just like an ice cream shop. So that's really fun too.
And there is another Thai restaurant here in Celebration. So if you are in the mood for Thai food, it's called Thai Tani. So Celebration is a really cute night out. Again, if you want to have a little date night or a little family night out.
So now we want to transition outside of things to do in these townships in Greater Orlando, and we're gonna take a little road trip, not too far. We are going to talk about some cities that are very close to Orlando that you can drive to within 2 or 3 hours, and the first one
is Tampa. So Tampa's a really great place to start. That's only about an hour and a half, maybe. I think one of my favorite parts about Tampa is that, like we said, we have the Amway Center in Orlando. However, if there is a concert coming into town and they're not coming to Orlando, they usually are coming to Tampa. There's the Amalie Arena, which is great for that. The Tampa Bay Lightning also play there, so if you want to go to a hockey game, you can do that. Another really great thing in Tampa is this place called Portillo's. Portillo's is a Chicago style hot dog restaurant, but they have hot dogs, burgers, and then they also have Italian food. They're pretty famous for the cake shake, so it's like a milkshake with cake in it. It's delicious. There's also the Oxford Exchange, which is another really aesthetic type restaurant, and they also have a bunch of shops within it.
And they have a really fun aquarium there that's really big. and a great day, not just for if you have kids, but I have gone as an adult with other adults and we have had a great time if you are into marine life. All right. We're going to stay on the Gulf Coast and we're going to drive a little further past Tampa to Sarasota. Sarasota is a very artistic city. There is an interesting juxtaposition of kind of the effect of a college town meets a large retired population there, which is really an interesting combo.
And that's like basically Florida in a nutshell if you think about it.
But the Ringling College of Art and Design is in Sarasota, so there are a lot of really artistic millennials and younger people there, and you see that reflected in the city itself. It's a huge celebration of art and music and performance, and there's just always something going on. It's really beautiful. And the Ringling Museum is there in Sarasota as well. I went there on my birthday a couple years ago and had an incredible time. It's like a campus. It's not just a building. There are several buildings. There are gardens. There's a beautiful rose garden. There's an estate. Like, it's a whole afternoon of exploring. And of course, the artwork is stunning. And of course, Sarasota is nearby a lot of beaches. You can get to Sanibel Island, Siesta Key, a lot of those warm Gulf waters, and obviously beautiful sunsets on the Gulf side. So it gives you a little bit of everything: some culture, good food, friendly people, art, and maybe a beach day. So it's, again, a good weekend getaway. On the other side of Florida, which of course is a long state, but a very skinny one, so you can drive from one side of the state to the other in probably just
It's about 3
to 4 hours, depending where you are, is St. Augustine, which of course a lot of people have heard of. It's a very historic town. It's like the oldest city in Florida, very historic. So you again have that juxtaposition of beach and culture. So there are a lot of great beaches nearby, but there's also the really historic town too, which has maintained a lot of its aesthetic. Almost, it's really well preserved. So you can go to like the country's first schoolhouse and things like that and see these buildings that have been very well maintained, but kind of see these artisans doing and creating things that are of that time, but it is modern in some ways as well. There are ghost tours you can take around St. Augustine because, of course, being an old historic city, it's got some haunting to it, or so they say, so it's fun to take a ghost tour. My favorite place to stay there is a bed and breakfast called The Collector. It's like one of the AAA highest rated bed and breakfasts in the country. It's beautiful. You basically get your own little house. You can rent bikes. They have a complimentary, beautiful breakfast. There's a little kind of like bar actually on the property that's its own separate building you can go to. And so it was really great staying there because it's right in the middle of the historic part, but you can rent bikes. So we would just ride our bikes to the beach every day and then ride our bikes back and around the town. We rode our bikes to dinner, and they give you bike locks so you can take your bike wherever you need to go. And we didn't touch our car the entire time.
Transitioning over into our next section, it wouldn't be Florida if we didn't talk about beaches. So we'll give you guys our favorite beaches that we found during our time living in Florida. I'm going to start off with Vero Beach. That one is only a little over an hour away from Disney property, and they actually have a Disney resort. Of course, we couldn't go through an episode without mentioning that, but it is a Disney Vacation Club resort that has all the amenities that DVC resorts have on property, but it is just not near a theme park. So there's a private beach area, and they have a beautiful pool. They have a quick service restaurant, they have a table service restaurant, and they also have all the Disney amenities. So they'll do movies out on the lawn, and they'll have DVD rentals in the gift shop, and the gift shop has Disney merchandise. So it is a really great getaway if you still want to have that little sprinkle of magic but not be in the hustle and bustle of the parks. The last time I went to Disney's Vero Beach Resort, we woke up really, really early in the morning and saw the sun rise there on the East Coast. And then we drove across the state over to Clearwater Beach and saw the sunset there. Clearwater Beach is another really awesome beach. My favorite thing there is to go to a restaurant called Frenchie's, and they have a delicious grouper sandwich and buffalo shrimp. And my boyfriend introduced this to me this past February, and I think about it all the time. It is so delicious. It's such a go-to. I'll always go there every time I go to Clearwater now.
Staying on the Gulf Coast, I mentioned briefly about Siesta Key and Sanibel Island. Those are all kind of near the Sarasota area. Beautiful sunsets. Obviously, the Gulf Coast beaches are all known for that. Just your relaxed beach town vibe. I think Sanibel is known for being a little bit more of a retirement vacation spot almost. So it's very peaceful, very relaxing, and a great destination for if you're kind of doing the whole Florida vacation and you want a really good, relaxing beach atmosphere. Further south, if my geography is serving me correctly, is Anna Maria Island. You can find these really like kind of almost like hidden pockets of beach that are just, especially if you go on a weekday, pretty much deserted, and the water is like this bright, gorgeous blue. The sand is white. It almost feels, to me, it feels the most island-like of any beach in Florida that I've been to. That one really does feel quite tropical, and the whole town surrounding it feels very tropical as well. On the East Coast, of course, I mentioned St. Augustine. If you're looking for something on the Atlantic coast, or maybe you're driving down to Disney from somewhere up north and you kind of want to stop for a beach day along the way, this is pretty much on your way to Disney. It's not really out of your way at all. My family and I used to stop there on our way down when we used to drive, and it's just kind of a fun way to relax before you start your vacation.
For our last little segment of this episode, we just wanted to give you a few of our everyday favorites from living in the Orlando area, because when you do live there, it does become your real life and your normal life. And grocery stores in Orlando, of course, we have to mention Publix and the ever famous Pub Subs. They have delicious subs at Publix that everybody is obsessed with. A lot of people, when they live in Orlando and leave and then come back to visit, will go specifically to Publix to get a sub.
Yeah, very friendly, great customer service. The sushi guy at our Publix was so sweet.
I miss him so much.
He was really nice.
So kind.
But yeah, just kind of whatever you can imagine your local up the road grocery store to be. That's kind of what Publix was.
If you head over to Dr. Phillips, there is a Whole Foods and a Trader Joe's nearby. And it was only about a 20-minute drive from where we were living, which was very close to the parks. There's lots of different options down there. We come from an area where there's Wegmans, so I was very worried that we weren't going to find a grocery store that we liked as much as Wegmans. But I think between the three of them, I was very satisfied in my grocery needs. So.
Yes, for sure.
Another really important part of a girl's routine is going to get her eyebrows done. And I just have to mention one of my favorite people in the entire world. Her name is Gina, and she works at Eye Studio in Winter Garden, and she does eyebrows. I met her when she worked back at Ulta in the Winter Garden Village area, and we really went on a brow journey together. She's phenomenal. She's so talented at what she does. She is one of the kindest souls ever. All I do is send all of my friends to her because I'm just so passionate about her brow work. I have very distinctive brows if you've seen a picture of me, which you probably have. So they definitely need a little extra care and attention. And Gina got them looking more like twins instead of sisters. You know what I mean? So I will link her information in the show notes below, because if you are in Orlando and if you are in need of getting your eyebrows done, I'm telling you, she is the person to go to.
A couple of my favorite everyday things about living in Orlando. One of them was a juice bar that was close by. Again, Jess and I are very into the health and wellness scene, and Clean Juice is an awesome company just in general. They do a lot of philanthropic work. They are just a company with some really great kindness values, and so it's great to support businesses like that, but they're also completely organic. So I knew that whatever I was putting into my body there wasn't, your typical like Smoothie King or those bigger smoothie chains that kind of use prepackaged, processed, frozen for a long time ingredients. These were fresh ingredients, and you definitely tasted the difference. So I would go there to get a smoothie in the morning or take my homework there and have an acai bowl in the afternoon. It was just kind of a great place to like care for myself and put something good into my body and fuel my brain, especially while I was in college.
And when I was sick last year and I was too tired to cook or whatever, clean juice was my go-to, because eating out is tricky when you want to be eating more whole foods or organic foods, and clean juice was the solution to that. So I'm very grateful for them and for them being so conveniently located.
Speaking of caring for yourself, like Jess was saying, when you live in Orlando, it's not just about living near the theme parks. It really just becomes your life. And the theme parks are a part of that, and that's wonderful. But it really just becomes the backdrop to you living your life. So when you think about living a life that is healthy in every possible way, you need to take care of yourself physically. So we needed to find, good places to eat and to buy groceries, and it also means taking care of yourself mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So for me, that was finding my church community. When I moved to Orlando, I kind of reached a point in my life where I started reevaluating, what church meant to me. And I ended up going with my friend Jessica Keene, who's probably listening to this, so hi. I ended up going with her to a church called Mosaic after she just knew that it would be something that would resonate with me. So finally I said, okay, I'll go with you. And it is a church located in Winter Garden, which we talked about earlier. And they also have a Disney campus, which is actually right next to Disney property pretty much. And that is a separate campus of the church that is devoted mostly to serving Disney cast members, especially international cast members and those on their Disney College program. And that was the first experience I had with Mosaic. It was just a community of a lot of people that I already knew. I recognized some people from work, from my specific department at Disney, and it really just felt like coming home. I walked in and everyone was so welcoming and so kind, and it felt like this can't possibly be church, because no one's judging me and no one's looking at me weird, and people who walked in 5 minutes late weren't getting stared down on their way to their seat. They were being welcomed and someone was handing them water and a snack, and it was like it was unlike anything I'd ever experienced before, and I just felt so drawn to it. And I remember at the end of the very first service that I went to, I looked at Jessica and I said, okay, so do we do this every week? Because I was so ready and excited to make this a part of my routine. And since then, I started going to the campus in Winter Garden just because I liked the Sunday morning service better than the Disney one being at night. I feel more alert and awake in the morning. It helped me to meet people who weren't part of the Disney bubble. It helped me to kind of see another side of what life for families in Orlando was like, and it helped me to learn about a lot of opportunities to give back to the community. And I just felt like these people are really doing life together and well, other than becoming a Disney cast member and getting to make magic so uniquely at Disney World. That was the best thing that happened to me in Orlando. So if you are the type of person who doesn't go to church, this is the church for you. If you're the type of person who does, this is the church for you. If you just want to have coffee and donuts and hang out with really nice people, this is the church for you. They have services on Sundays at 9:02 and 11:17. Don't ask.
How specific?
So specific. I'm telling you, those 2 minutes help. I'd be like, oh, it's okay. I'm parking and it's 11:15. Well, I have 2 more minutes. It's fine. And then the Disney campus usually does service at 7:02 on Sunday nights. We will link their website in the show notes and their social media so you can check it out.
Whether you are living in Orlando currently, or if you are someone who visits the area and just wanted to hear a little bit more about what there is outside of theme park life, I hope that this episode gave you a little bit of insight of all of the hidden gems that we found out during our time living there. I think one of my favorite things about living in Orlando and working at Disney was kind of building up this lifestyle of really immersing myself in this city and finding all the beautiful things there are there.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's so much more to see and do and find, and they really are these hidden gems that you often hear by word of mouth, or oftentimes someone who's lived there longer than you will tell you about it or ask you to go with them, and you do sort of build up this lifestyle where the theme parks are an incredible privilege and a part of it, but they are not all of it. And especially for those people who, worked full time at Disney, it was kind of nice to find other things to do outside of that. Like we said before, we will link everything we talked about in the show notes. We will link social media accounts, websites, all the restaurants and venues we spoke about. And we hope that whether you live in Orlando, you are trying to move to Orlando, or you, like Jess said, just visit the area frequently, we hope you'll check some of these out.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you again next Tuesday. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Rediscover.
Please subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening. Your reviews are what keep us going, and we'd love to hear from you.
Join us every Tuesday for a new conversation, and let us know what you think we should talk about next.
Follow us on Instagram at positively.kristen and at jessicafay508. And check out Jess's blog at theroadjesstraveled with 1l.com.
Until next time,
Stay frumpy!